Well, we're back. We've been off for a while, but we're back with a lot of good questions from the audience, some good information, free event tickets, and then we'll talk about why I bought a note where the borrower hasn't paid in 8 months. All that and a lot more as the Cash Flow Podcast starts in 1 minute. Thanks for being with us today.
Real estate has created more millionaires than any other form of investing. But, how is that working out for you? Did you become a landlord and invest in rentals, expecting monthly cash flow? Only to become burned out, with all of the headaches of tenants, toilets, and turnover? Are you shut out of the game by high prices and tough lending conditions? Is all of your investable capital locked up in a retirement account, and you don't know how to put it to work in real estate? Well, you've come to the right place.
Well, welcome back to the Worry Free Cash Flow Podcast. It's been a while. My name is Tom Force. I'm your host, founder of No Club USA. And it's been about 4 months since we had our last podcast. It's been a busy summer. Hope it's been good for everybody out there. Been hot here in Texas. Just got back from a vacation in Clearwater, Florida. It was nice down there. They thought it was warm. We thought it was great. It was 105 back in Texas. So it was a good time. Been busy flying, buying notes. We're going to talk today about one of the notes that I bought, which the borrower hasn't paid in 8 months. And I actually went out and purchased that asset. So we'll talk about that and why I did that, why that's a good business strategy. But like I said, it's been a busy summer, a lot going on, staying in touch with all of my note school friends in April, which is about the last time we had a podcast. Went to a note school mastermind, a special mastermind thrown by Eddie Speed and some of his high-level investors. Really good time, but the best part was the proceeds were donated to the Montague County Children's Welfare Board, which is a great organization, and my hat's off to Eddie and Note School for donating a lot of money, not only to that charity, but for a lot of the good they do in the community. Great event. May came around, we had the Titanium Summit, which is a lot of high-level Note School members get together, and we just talked for 4 days. It's like a little family reunion. The note space is kind of small, not a lot of people in it, although we're getting a lot more in. So it's like family whenever we get together, have a good time, and look forward to seeing my friends again at Note Expo in November. Like I said, it's been real busy. And I know that I do talk about Note School a lot. And in fact, I found a few of my podcast audience have gone ahead and gone through the masterclass and joined Note School, and we're glad to have them on board, and they're glad they did. I know I promote Note School a lot, but that's because in this environment, this economic environment and investing environment, knowing the ins and outs of notes and seller financing can be the key between your business dying and thriving. We've got some incredible real estate agents on, highly successful real estate agents have joined us. Some of Keller Williams' top agents. I met a couple of them at the Titanium Summit, say that 3 times fast. Met them there, and they're starting to unload their multifamily portfolio and focus more on notes. A lot of burnout landlords, people with money on the side have just watched inflation go up and returns on their investments declining, or they just sit on the sideline in cash. It's a tough time. So Note School and note investing and seller financing all, come in together at the right time. If you know how to do this, especially if you're a real estate agent or your income is based on helping people sell their home or get into homes, knowing how to work the ins and outs of seller financing properly can make the difference, not only for you, but you can help more people unload their property and move on with their lives. And more importantly, you can help people move on with the dream of home ownership in an environment where the bank says you pretty much have to have a 780 and perfect credit for you to get a loan done. The mortgage credit availability is down over half in the last year and a half or so. So it's a tough time out there to get a loan. So if you can be the bridge between the seller and the buyer, when you solve problems, you make money. So it's a win-win all around. So anyway, I really believe in Note School. They did right by me. If you follow my story at all, I found them a little less than 2 years ago, and my whole thing was I had money on the sideline and didn't know how to invest it with the risk tolerance I had. And I found that by becoming the lender, I pretty much rebuilt my retirement that I've lost through my job. And just last month, I picked up the last note that will put me over the goal that I set for cash flow. And it's cash flow that I don't worry about. And I've talked about that a million times. So anyway, just my gift to my audience and anybody who wants to go and be part of our ecosphere. At the end of the broadcast, I'll have a link or a QR code to 2 free tickets to, or as many tickets as you want, to a free masterclass that Eddie Speed of Note School is doing. He does it every 2 weeks. So I'd like to get you in there. Doesn't cost anything. But the bottom line is you don't know what you don't know. So I'd love to have you join our ecosphere if you like this concept. And, I consider this season 2 of our podcast. And so if you've been here with a while, you should have a good foundation on what we do. But just kind of as a review of everything we talked about, in the previous episodes. Go ahead and get that taken care of. So episode 1, at the beginning, I brought on Doug Faust as my guest. He's a hospital CEO from Laramie, Wyoming, and Doug and I got into no club for the no club. Got into the note space for the same reason. We wanted the returns and the cash flow, but without the headaches. And so we talked about our journeys towards creating cash flow for retirement. And Doug has since, just like me, gone and put himself in a position that he could walk away from his job if he liked to, and not worry about the income. So good episode, really basic episode there, but we talked a lot, and Doug's a great guy, and happy to see his note investing business take off. In episode 2, I brought on Dr. Emily Thompson from Oklahoma City, because everyone asks at one point, well, that's great. You're the lender, you're the mortgage company, but what happens when they stop paying? So we took a deep dive into that. We're going to look at that again today because I actually have a note where that's the case. And we're going to use that as a case study going through the episode today and also through upcoming episodes. But that was a great episode to get your questions answered as to, well, if they stop paying, I own this note, what happens now? Episode 3 was part of my effort to show folks that you don't just need regular cash in your pocket to do this. You can do this with retirement funds. And there's a whole different aspect of investing when it comes to using your retirement funds and unqualified funds. We talked about HSAs, Coverdale accounts for your kids, a whole wide range of investing with Derek Long from Quest Trust Company. A lot of good info on that, and it opened some eyes. Derek walks the halls of Congress, helping to create investing legislation, and just a great guy and a very informative episode. So please go back and watch that. We segue into talking about Note School in episode 4, and kind of what I led on with this podcast was why are all the successful real estate agents, high-level home flippers, wholesalers, investors, landlords, all coming to Note School now? So I had an episode with the chief of curriculum at the Note School, Mr. Joe Varnador, great friend, great guy out of Okeechobee, Florida. He teaches as part of his duties with Note School, and he gave us some insight as to why notes and why now. So I don't think you're going to want to miss that. Speaking of not miss, we're invited into the office of man himself, Eddie Speed. Been involved in notes for over 42 years from the ground up, done hundreds of thousands of transactions, but more importantly, he is the founder and innovator behind Note School. And like I said, I consider him a good friend. He's changed the trajectory of my retirement. And with a family full of real estate agents and those around them who know real estate and folks out there who are struggling right now, I couldn't think of a better time to go to his office and talk about why notes right, why now with him. So we had a great informative session with Eddie, talked about his journey through the note space, and I think you'll like it too. And finally, to wrap up what I consider season one, we talked about why you need a servicer. For those of you who haven't followed us, if you've got rental properties, if you do it right, you probably have a property manager that helps take away a lot of your headaches. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Well, when you buy notes and you are the lender, you don't want the headaches. In a lot of states, you need to be licensed to get all this done. Well, the servicer takes care of that for you. They're my property manager for the notes. And we spent almost an hour talking with the great Melissa Balling from Allied Servicing Corporation up in Washington about why you don't want to service notes yourself. And I think the feedback on that episode was great because she talked about how all the things she does, all the things that go into servicing a note, taking it off of my plate, and her being on my team, and it only costs like $18.50 a month for all that she does. So anyway, that was season one. Didn't intend for it to be season one, but that was a good beginning. However, since we have a lot of new people watching, since we've been off for 4 months and the words got out about our podcast, I do want to take you to some resources that you can find out more about what we do, especially the replays of the podcast. If you want to see those episodes that I was talking about, just go to noclubusa.com, go up to the podcast link, and all the episodes are there. And this episode will be there about an hour after we're finished today. But that's just scratching the surface of what we have going on the website. If you go to the education tab, scroll down to newsletter, you'll get this quarter's issue. It's cash flow solutions for investors and landlords. It's our summer issue. In this one, we talk a lot about my road to retirement, how I've taken scared cash that was sitting on the sideline and invested it in a way that I know that I've got cash flow coming in and I don't have to worry about that anymore. But a lot of good information in there. It's a free download for you. It's 4 pages. Print that out and or download it to your device and read that. I think you'll get a lot out of it. While you're on the education tab, go to library. I've inserted a free book in there. It's written by another author, but it's really good. It's called Killing Sacred Cows. And what we're referring to is in the financial industry, there are some truths that are never challenged. Just financial information, financial theories that everybody follows, but aren't really challenged. And if you follow them, it's not necessarily going to work out for you. We talk about the 401k and how that's set up for Wall Street to win and you not so much. We talk about buy and hold and some of the other theories out there that we just accept as the truth. And when you start looking at them, you kind of shred them and say, I'm glad I found something else, another way to invest. Anyway, dovetails very nicely with what we do with notes, because one of the theses in there that we talk about is that cash flow and cash flowing assets and the velocity of money is much more important than accumulating a stack. Now, it's nice to have a stack, but if you're not making it work for you, then you're just worried about how you're going to start pulling that apart in retirement, and that can be very frustrating. So anyway, good book. A lot of my fellow Note School folks are reading it and enjoy it. So free gift to you. Go ahead and take that in and maybe watch that before the next podcast or before you go to the masterclass. Before you go to the masterclass, one thing I'd love for you to do is go to a free video that I created. It's about 45 minutes, and it's an introduction to cash flow and mortgage notes. It's everything we do in a nutshell. I talked to you about the first few notes that I bought, how they work, what happens if they go wrong, how you can get involved with notes, and it's not advertised on the site anywhere. You just have to go and find it. It's noclubusa.com/cashflow. But it's designed for my podcast audience, once they have a little bit of knowledge about what we're doing, to go ahead and see how this note business all works out. So if you like videos, it'll be right up your alley. We have other videos too. I have a notes versus series where we talk about notes versus all sorts of other investing strategies. And as I've said before many times, and even in the newsletter, I'm not knocking other investment strategies. It's just you need to be diversified. You need to know how notes work. Knowing how to do proper seller financing can be a windfall for you. But there's all sorts of short 3 to 4 minute videos here. We talk about notes versus rentals. I don't bag on rentals, but they're kind of hard to do these days. If you're a landlord here in Texas, we just had a thunderstorm come through about 6 weeks ago, right through my neighborhood, that had 5-inch hail. A lot of roofs being replaced, and now for the last few weeks, the temperature's been 105 and above, and all those AC units are going out. So as a landlord, how's that working with your cash flow? I don't get those calls. I go on vacation. I come back and checks are in my mailbox and ACHs are deposited in my bank account. So landlords, you don't have it quite that easy. So we talk about that. I know there's tax benefits for rentals and all that, but you need to have an overall comprehensive investment plan, and notes dovetail nicely into whatever else you're doing. Talk about notes versus wholesaling. Love wholesaling. Started that a while back ago with my son. We did some of those, and tougher to find deals these days. A little tougher business. We talk about that. We talk about notes versus multifamily. Many new high-level note school members are coming out of the multifamily community. They're unloading their assets and looking to take the cash and put it into cash flowing assets as far as notes. It's tough time in multifamily with interest rate adjustments. A lot of people didn't lock the rate in. They let it float, and they're paying the price. My son's got a multifamily syndication where they actually did the financing right, and that's going really well. But not everybody is well seasoned and insightful to do that, and so we see a lot of folks bailing on multifamily. So anyway, we talk about that a little bit. Talk about notes versus flipping. I love flipping. Kind of phasing out of that. It's tougher to get deals. Did my last one, finished it up with my wife in June of 2021. Made a nice penny on that one, but once again, deals are tougher to find, and finding qualified buyers. If you're a flipper and you're having trouble finding people who can get a mortgage for your house, well, maybe you need to come to note school and learn how to properly get folks as seller financing candidates. If you're not qualifying them to, well, let me put it this way. If you're trying to find folks to rent because you want to be a landlord now, that's one thing. I don't think you want to be a landlord though, but it comes with its own set of problems. But if you want to sell that home, you might be finding in certain parts of the country or most of the country, the pool of qualified buyers is drying up quickly because mortgage availability is way down. Well, if you know how to properly advertise for, vet, and screen potential buyers and put them on seller financing and finance your equity, you can make a killing. And once again, when problems are solved, you make money. But you have to do it right. You have to be Dodd-Frank compliant. You need to pre-qualify them. Things we talk about in note school. So if you're a flipper, might be time to learn how notes and seller financing work. We talk about notes in the stock market. I'm in the stock market. I have a part of my investment money with an advisor. He takes care of it. I keep an eye on it, but more importantly, I like options. I like to time the market a little bit. I enjoy doing that kind of as a hobby. Get in, get out. Options in the stock market, a lot like options in real estate, but I won't get into it now, but I do enjoy that. But we do talk about notes versus stocks and stuff. Last year with the S&P down over 18%, but my notes just kept paying on time. So it is what it is. We talk about what happens when the government gets in the way of cash flow. All of you probably remember the eviction on moratorium on evictions. I can't even say it. It makes me so angry. That COVID brought along. Couldn't evict people. That was great, huh? And recently legislation was introduced in DC to limit the amount of depreciation that the landlords can take. So they're always coming after you one way or another. So we talk about that a little bit. And then we talk about the tax man waiting to hit you with a capital gain stick. You're sitting on a lot of equity in your rentals, you're reaching retirement age, you want to go ahead and sell them. Well, you know, the tax man's going to take a big chunk of that in capital gains. If you know how to properly sell or finance your equity and just take cash payments over time, you might be able to defer quite a bit of that tax and maybe not even pay any of it, because when you use the installment sale, a lot of that tax burden is spread out over time. So once again, another thing to learn when it comes to investing with notes and how notes work and seller financing works. We do a video just called The Burnout Landlord. There are a lot of people today just tired of the rentals. They're not doing what they've advertised. They become another job. The cash flow is not there. It's tough. It's tough being a landlord. And so we talk about how people can take the equity in their homes and go ahead and seller finance them out, and they can make sometimes 3 times the amount of cash flow that they were making as a rental just by financing their equity out there. So I'm a landlord. I've got some Airbnbs. They're a headache. I am diversified, but if you're burnout as a landlord, you've come to the right place. Learn about notes, and we try to make it as easy as we can. We have this website. We talk all about notes, and this might be your savior, but learn what's out there. And like I said, the 2-hour masterclass is a great way to do that. I'm so passionate about this that I went and authored a small book. It's about 60 pages. You don't have to pay a dime. It's online. You can click to that in our website. It's a little clunky. The server doesn't work very well, but if you got high-speed internet, you can kind of flip through that. But it talks about the basics of note investing, and it's my gift to you as well. So I've tried to go ahead and give you as many resources as I possibly can at No Club USA. We do this podcast, and so that gets you caught up in the resources that are out there that we've put in place for you. You can go back and look at all the different podcasts. We're going to move forward with this podcast here shortly. I'm going to go ahead and take a 30-minute break for a sponsor, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about kind of the state of the market, answer your questions. We've got a link on our podcast link that says have your questions answered on the podcast. We'll take care of those. And then we're going to wrap up with that note that I bought that the person's not paying on. Why did I do that, and what's my plan for that? So anyway, we'll check back with you in about 30 seconds. Glad to have you today. Well, obviously, I'm in a 30-second break, not a 30-minute break, although I feel I could use one right now with all we have to cover that's left. We're going to go through all the questions that have backed up in our mailbox since our last broadcast. We're going to take a little bit of a deep dive into seller financing, a little bit more than we covered earlier. And then we're going to take a look at the note that I bought where the buyer hasn't paid in a while. And that's kind of interesting. But first, I want to introduce you to some sponsors and partners that I'd like you to be aware of the broadcast now going forward. If you're in the DFW area, Homeward Property Management with Dana Wynn. If you have rentals, you've heard me talk about this before, but you need property management, because if you're doing it by yourself, you become what we call a burnout landlord. You've got a job, and a lot of people aren't crazy about that. But Homeward DFW, they manage my properties. They're expanding all over North Texas, up towards Oklahoma this week, I believe. Go to their website, homewarddfw.com. Very educational, and they also have inventory on there if you're looking to rent as well. But go check out my friends over at Homeward DFW. I do a lot of syndication investing. I've talked about that before. Kind of a tough time right now. I've noticed a lot of the platforms seem to have a lot of their offerings diminished right now. They've invested a lot in CrowdStreet. Used to get one offering a day. I think I'm getting maybe 2 a month now. It's a tough time in commercial real estate, multifamily as well. However, Deep Blue Capital, my son's part of that. They're doing very well. They just had a offering for an apartment complex down in Waco. It's student housing at Baylor. That's doing well. They've bought it right, financed it right, and there are projections here in the first year that they own it. So go to Deep Blue RE. They're got a very educational website as well. Also, if you're an accredited investor, you can sign up and get on the mailing list as well. If you're looking to move a deal, whether it's mobile home park, storage, or multifamily, go ahead and drop them a line as well. They're pretty passionate about what they do. They also have a podcast called More Doors. I think they're on episode 8 right now. Bringing a lot of good guests, very educational. So whether you're accredited or not, just want to learn more about the multifamily space and commercial, go ahead and check out that podcast. It's the More Doors podcast. Speaking of podcasts, if you're interested in podcasting at all, you want to go to tourstudios.com. My friend Jesse Showalter runs an incredible studio there, whether you need the space and all the production, or you're just like me where he does some post-production where he just gets us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Top to bottom, if you want to see a sample of the studio in action, you can go to More Doors podcast, or you can go to The Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening To. That's actually the name of it. It's one of the top real estate podcasts out there. But you can see an example of the studio and what he does. But if you've ever thought of podcasting, especially if you need some space, give Jesse a shout there over at tourstudios.com. DFW area, if you need a realtor, yeah, I'm biased. It's my son, but he backs it up. Danny Force, over $100 million of real estate. He's very investor friendly. If you're a first time buyer, that's his specialty. He'll go up and represent you with the builders, and he's very successful in that. Has a great Rolodex of connections. So if you need a professional who's thriving in this market, look no further than Dan, and that's his number up there. Or you can reach him by contacting me as well. And finally, U.S. Note Exchange, that's our sister site. That's where we buy and sell mortgage notes. If you're sitting on a note right now and like to cash it out, go ahead and send us the information there. We'll take a look at it. If we can't do anything with it, we'll certainly try to shop it within our note school and note space contacts and see if we can get you a good deal on it. Also, if you have a property that you're looking to possibly sell or finance, go ahead and send us the deets there as well, and we'll see what we can do for you with that. So, and also on a side note, I do buy and sell land, especially in Texas. So if you have any interest in selling some property, go ahead and hit me up. All right, so while we were gone on summer break, not only did the checks keep rolling in from our notes, but so did the questions from our website, both on the podcast tab and on the contact form. So we've picked the top 5 questions. We've already gone and responded to the submitters, but figure they're pretty popular questions, and some of our audience might have these. So we wanted to go ahead and address them for you on the show, just in case you have any lingering questions yourself. If I use a lot of my retirement money investing in notes, is it stuck in the note for the duration, and how can I get it back out? Well, it's not just retirement money, but even just regular cash investment. There's a saying that anything you do in real estate, you can do with notes, except notes are much more liquid. So for instance, if you had a rental portfolio, it'd be kind of difficult and cumbersome and not very cost effective to try to liquidate your rental portfolio to get cash real quickly. Whereas notes, very liquid, they're just the paper. Plenty of people buy notes all across the country. I buy them, companies buy them. They're very negotiable items, and you can get cash pretty quickly for your notes. Might not be the best strategy though. There are companies out there that'll lend against the note. You pledge your note as collateral and still collect the payments on them, but then you go ahead and pay the loan as well at the same time. Episode 2, Dr. Emily Thompson talked about how she received a loan for one of her notes, and the loan covered just about everything she had in the note, and the payments she had coming in more than covered the payments she had going out. She just arbitraged the difference. So pretty interesting strategy. But if you're strapped for cash, you can take your notes and find some companies. We have contacts with companies that can lend against them. There are plenty of them out there. Another strategy, which is real powerful, I could do a whole show on, is the partial, where you sell a certain number of payments off the front end of your note to raise your cash needs, to meet them, whatever they are. And then you keep the back end of the note. It's extremely powerful. There's a lot to it. They teach it in the masterclass. I'll talk about that I have free tickets to. I'm not going to get into it now, but anyway, there are several ways to raise cash. Your notes are very liquid, but those are 3 of the most popular ways. And so anyway, you should be feeling confident that even though your money's in notes and it's a 30-year loan, blah, blah, blah. First of all, chances are that note's going to pay off anywhere from 7 to 10 years anyway, and your money will be back out, and you'll make a little bit of a windfall on that. But also, if you need money in a pinch, you can extract money in several different ways. I don't have a lot of investable cash. How can I get started? Well, the 2 most popular ways would be, one is similar to wholesaling or bird dogging in rental real estate and flipping, where you go out and find deals and you match people up with them. So you can find notes that are out there that people are looking to sell and match them up with a buyer, and you can get a fee for the difference. You can also help people arrange for seller financing and then find a buyer for the property. That's a way to arbitrage the difference. So that's a couple of easy ways right there. The other way is to partner with people that have cash. There are plenty of people out there who have money to invest but don't have the time to go out and find the deals. So there's a partnership made right there. You find the deals, you work with a partner as cash, and you work out a percentage of who's going to get what, and the servicer actually can cut checks to both of you. So there's just a couple of ways right there, but don't be discouraged just because you don't have a lot of investable cash, another thing you can do is buy a partial for somebody. They're investors just like myself. I've got several notes that are under $50,000. If somebody wanted to buy a partial up front off of that, I could sell off some payments to meet whatever they wanted to invest and recapitalize my account a little bit. So anyway, that's just a few of the ways. So don't let that discourage you, but partnering with other folks and learning how to broker are a couple of ways that would really do wonders for you. Do you have any courses where you take a deeper dive? Not really. I do have some videos that go into a little bit more depth on how all of this works. I have one especially on seller financing that I'm going to talk a little bit later on. But I don't sell courses, but I do want folks to go to the master class at Note School. No sense in reinventing the wheel when you can learn from Eddie Speed and his team on how all of this works. So I do this just so that I can have a more knowledgeable audience base and more people to work with, more people to partner with, and that kind of thing. So anyway, no courses, but I do have some videos that noclubusa.com/CF is an overview of what we do, and that's something really worth watching. So anyway, long answer to a short question, but I'm not selling anything, just trying to funnel people towards more education. I have a note I've been collecting on and might like to sell it. Can you help? Well, yeah, we've gone over that. You can get it to me at usnoteexchange.com or any of the other people out there. You can also go to some of the Facebook groups that are out there with note investors. You can try to sell it on PaperStack and some of the other platforms out there. But yeah, you can drop it in our contact page, and we'd be happy to take a look at it. And if we're not interested, if we can't make it work, we'll certainly happy to shop it around our network as well. And finally, I am still not clear on what happens if a borrower doesn't pay. Well, this is the right episode for you, because we're going to look at a note that I bought where I knew the borrower wasn't paying, but I bought the note anyway. And also, if you go back to episode 2 with Emily Thompson, that whole episode talked about what happens if the borrower doesn't pay, because she has some real world experience in that. So anyway, that's it for the Q&A. If you've got questions, go ahead and send them in to us, and we'll be sure to get an answer right out to you, and hopefully use it here on the podcast as well. So as we get into our discussion of seller financing, why you need to know how it works, especially if your livelihood depends upon real estate. I want to post this picture that somebody posted on Facebook not too terribly long ago. And it was in relation to Desert Storm 1990, 1991. But what caught my interest was at the top where it said mortgage rates averaged 9.75% for the week ending that Wednesday. And we all thought that was great because they had tumbled down below 10%. Interest rate when I bought my first house in 1986 was 14.5%. Just was what it was. So even though we are in what's a relatively high interest rate environment compared to what's been going on the last few years, historically, we're still right about the mean. A 50-year mean is right around 7.77%. So just about on average, and a little bit lower than what a lot of us in the note business have been used to in the past. So anyway, found that pretty interesting. So subject of this little bit of content is about seller financing. And this was in the Wall Street Journal at the end of last month. Buyers are getting home loans from an unlikely source, the seller of their house. High mortgage rates are making seller financing more popular for home buyers, real estate professionals say. So yeah, if you're trying to sell your house, you have a lot of equity in it, and people are not lining up at your door because they can't get a loan, well, then maybe you're going to finance your equity. And that's what we'll talk about here a little bit. But anyway, there is a truism that seller financing fills the void that conventional financing cannot serve. And we do know that mortgage availability, as measured by many metrics, is down well over half in the last 18 months. And so seller financing fills that void. So we're going to talk about it, and it's an opportunity for you. If you're watching this podcast, then obviously you're interested in bettering your future, getting some cash flow, investing, and making a better life for yourself. So take a little time to learn about seller financing, how it works, and all of this is just going to kind of give you a little bit of an overview. The masterclass that I have free tickets to will go into it a little bit more in depth, and then our ecosphere at Note School, this is what a lot of us do in and out and make a pretty good living at it anyway. We've had, in the last 6 to 8 months, I've met plenty of people who are high-level real estate investors and agents. Keller Williams folks here in Southlake. We're at one of the top-level KW masterminds. Heard Eddie Speed talking about seller financing. They're coming in, they're lighting it up. They're actually unloading some of their multifamily assets. You can see more of their story on Note School TV. That's outside the scope of what we're doing right now, but it's no secret that a lot of people are looking at notes and seller financing. I just want to hit the highlights here so you can see what all the buzz is about. So a quick history on creative financing, which is another name for seller financing, really started to become a thing back in the early 80s when the huge credit crunch came in. And it's like today, homeowners who were trying to sell found that no one could buy because buyers could not get loans. So seller financing came to the rescue. Historically, seller financing accounts for anywhere from 3 to 6% of all transactions. And I don't know, this year or next year, we may see that approach 10%, just my conjecture there. But anyway, property owners became their own bank, financing the purchase for the buyer. No buying and selling market is created. So why now? Why is this a topic in the Wall Street Journal? Well, interest rates are going up and probably will stay at this level for a few years while people get comfortable with where they're at. Inflation doesn't seem to be going away, and other economic issues may force some property owners to sell out of necessity. Aging baby boomer landlords want to start cashing out in the face of a tough market. It is tough being a landlord when you self-manage, you have a bunch of properties, and the government gets in the way with evictions on moratoriums or moratoriums on evictions. I get so angry I can't even say it, like I said before. Anyway, government intervention. Here in North Texas, we just had a hailstorm with hailstones about 5 inches across, which damaged roofs. AC is going out left and right now. Being a landlord is a headache, and they want out. There's certain tax advantages involved with seller financing, at least there can be. And investor capital to support these transactions is sitting on the sidelines looking for something to do. People are scared of the stock market. They don't want to be landlords. Commercial real estate is starting to tumble, so they're looking for something to do. This is Dan Walters, high-level Note School student, but he's also a megastar when it comes to buying and selling. He's from Boise, Idaho, big-time buyer and seller of real estate. And he was talking to Eddie, and he said, this is the time where we make our real money and the competition gets weeded out. We've had more owner finance conversations with sellers in the last 45 days than we've had in the last 3 years. And like I said, this is a subject in the Wall Street Journal now, so it's worth paying attention to. So who's the best candidate out there for selling their home via seller financing? Well, absentee landlords and absentee owners. Landlords, folks have been doing it for 3 or 4 years, and the shine is worn off, and they found that they have a job, and the pro forma doesn't meet the cash flow. Older landlords who've had their rentals for years and they want out of the business. If they have high equity, or better yet, free and clear, high income sellers, or just simply busy people or out of state owners who have inherited the private property and they just want to get rid of it, we can convert that to cash flow. They're flexible on how much money they need up front, might be in condition or not conducive to a listing, and the seller needs a quick sale but is stuck on the price. So we talk about the potential from the burned out landlord. Now, these are absentee owners. They're also landlords, but they're absentee owners. They own their property in their own names, not a business, and own the property free and clear. And most often they self-manage as well. So very quickly they found they bought themselves a job full of red tape, governmental interference, tenants, toilets, things. I would love rentals if it wasn't for the tenants, right? But anyway, it's something they got into, and it's not easy to get out of. So I did a search in one of the online search softwares for this particular demographic. Absentee owner, they own the home free and clear, and they own it in their own name, not a business. So these are potentials just for the burned out landlord side. So in Dallas County in October, which is when I did the search of 2022, I came up with 75,000 potential leads right there. Collin County, which is north of Dallas, we had 32,000. Denton County, which is north of Fort Worth, 10,500, and Tarrant County, which is the area surrounding Fort Worth, 42,189 leads. So on that date in October, we had almost 160,000 leads. People are just potential burnout landlords. This is from the Only Real Estate Group Worth Being Part Of. They also have their podcast, The Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening To. This post came up, and this is typical of what I see. I am so over being a long-term landlord with long-distance property management. So even if you're an absentee owner and you have property management, landlording can be a headache. So there's plenty of opportunity there. So we can help them with their problems. We can help them get a price close to what they want if the property supports it. When you're dealing with seller financing and terms, price is not as important as the terms, and we can show you mathematically how that works out. Also, we can help them mitigate a tax issue they may or may not know they are facing if they sell. Very simply, on investment property, using the installment sale method, you can spread the capital gains tax out over a longer period. So 3 ways a seller finance deal can help you. Well, you can be the one who sets up the transaction to be funded and bought by an investor. You can get paid a fee or a percentage of the deal. So if you're a real estate agent or hustler out there who likes to set up deals, there's one way to profit from seller financing. Another way is you buy or partner with an investor to buy someone's property on terms. You can keep it for personal use, such as a vacation home, and or rent it out, say as an Airbnb. Another way would be you and or partner buy the property on terms. Then you turn around and sell it on terms to what we call a penalty box buyer. This is a great way to create headache-free cash flow. And simply a penalty box buyer, there's nothing wrong with them. If you're a real estate agent, you probably fit in that category. You're self-employed. Right now, the penalty box buyer is just about anybody who doesn't have a 780 credit score and 20% to put down and is just squeaky clean. These are good people who have money saved up, good credit. They want to buy a home, but right now the lending environment just says, no, we're just not willing to take the risk. So as far as trying to employ certain techniques to get people to the table for seller financing, really the risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So there are good ways to do it, there are bad ways to do it, and we want to make sure you do it the right and proper way. Of course, keep in mind that timing is everything, and I think you'll agree that the time now to learn all about seller financing is ripe. Once again, top fold of the money section of the Wall Street Journal just recently. So the time is now, and we want you to be highly informed. We want you to work with us, and we'll be able to work with you to get more of these deals to the table. So what you need to know in these economic conditions, why an understanding of creative financing is a must. Why an evaporating qualified mortgage buyer pool means creative financing may be the only way to get your leads property sold. You have found another way to help them. It's important if you're a real estate agent. You can give them more options besides, hey, just list with me. If you're a real estate investor, how you can add to your portfolio and create wealth via creative terms. I do a whole presentation. It's about, I think it's about 40 minutes long, geared towards real estate agents about things you can be asking your potential seller at a listing appointment when it looks like, you know, they're not going to list with you, but you have other options to approach them with when it comes to seller financing. First off, though, I'd really like for you to take that masterclass. I keep coming back to this. It's 2 hours. It's done via Zoom. You can get the recording if you can't make it live, but we want you to interact with Eddie and Max Keller, Chief Marketing Officer of Node School. But I'd really like for you to go to this class and get a little more educated on how all of this works. They will take a dive into seller financing, some of the techniques out there. But right now, this isn't just for people who are bored. These are people, you know, coming to Node School who have, you know, flipped 300 homes in a year, who, you know, have seen their buyer pool dry up. Real estate agents who are just out there in a frenzy trying to find their next deal. When you have these tools in your tool belt, you can continue to earn a good income, and that's what we want you guys to be able to do. You can scan the code. That'll bring up a link to go register. If you're not tech savvy or it's not coming up, you can go to noclubusa.com/masterclass, and we have a link to it as well. If you email me or contact me with your registration or an email that shows me the date that you have registered for the masterclass, I will go ahead and send you a link for that 40-minute presentation on seller financing for the real estate agents, and it can be used for investors as well. But as soon as I know that you signed up for the masterclass, I'll give you that video, and that way you can get a head start on the masterclass. And you can just go ahead and use this link right here to let me know you're signed up. But we're all about education here, so I want you to have the most that you can. Nothing I've done or offered costs a penny, but the return can be quite substantial. And like I said, we're talking about this in the Wall Street Journal now. Eddie's speaking schedule going around the country talking about notes and seller financing and the like is off the charts. He's hardly ever around now. Note School and some of our affiliated folks in legal are in DC with the Seller Finance Coalition, making provisions stronger to keep this viable entity going forward. So do join our efforts. Come be part of our team. Come be part of our community. And it all starts with the masterclass. And like I said, I'd like to reward you with that video as well. So please go ahead and do that. Now, of course, many of you are here just to find out how to take your cash that's sitting on the sideline that you don't know what to do with, and finding a relatively low risk way to create worry-free cash flow. And that's the whole reason we're here. With my entire family fully involved in real estate, I found it interesting to dive a little deeper into seller financing and trying to help people understand how powerful that is and what a great tool that is in this environment. But if you're here just for the cash flow and buying notes, putting them away, and watching the cash roll in, you're in the right place also. Of course, any performing note can become non-performing. Within 90 to 120 days, you could be looking at some issues. So anyway, you will learn along the way as you invest in notes that there are opportunities in buying notes that the borrower hasn't paid in a while. I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. Or your note could eventually become non-performing, like I said. So I'm going to address that real quickly here with a real case study, and also add a little bit of insight into paperwork issues. I've had some interesting stuff show up lately, so I'm a nerd for due diligence, and I look at a lot of notes, and came across a couple of things that some people who do this for a living didn't really catch when they put this out there. So the overarching theme here is be very careful. Make sure that you review all of your paperwork very carefully if you're going to do this, and it doesn't hurt to have an extra set of eyes looking at it anyway. So first one here, I've redacted some of the stuff that doesn't need to be out there since nobody here signed a non-disclosure. But anyway, so under the terms of payment on this note, the principal amount and interest are due and payable in 119 monthly installments of 541.82 on or before July 4th of 2020. So what's that saying is that all of their payments are due like the next month. And this particular note was written by a company that actually does a bunch. I've seen seller of their notes, and they have this mistake in there on all of them. And they're a company that does a lot of business here in Texas. So I was kind of surprised to find that. The answer is the word here, beginning, is missing. It should say the principal amount and interest are due and payable in 119 monthly installments of 541, beginning on or before that date. Basically, they've set the buyer up to be in default already on the first month because they didn't make all 119 payments out there. So watch for stuff like that. Here's another one. A lot of redaction, but the bottom line is the property description didn't match what was in the note. The note address was 6210 Linton Lane, but in the property description down below, it says 210 Linton. Now, we had some discussion about this in one of our webinars at Note School, and it was agreed that we probably should get this corrected. If we were buying this, we want the seller to get that corrected. We could do a corrective deed, or what's called a scrivener's affidavit. So anyway, just be careful out there. There's a lot of people who do this kind of stuff for a living, and they get a little sloppy, and the paperwork could end up biting you in the butt somewhere down the line. So, all right, so let's get to the non-performing note that I bought where the borrower hasn't paid in several months. The note was created on February 1st of 2018, and there's a typo there. The purchase was $55,500. $1,500 down, loan was $54K, 10% for 30 years. Principal and interest is $473.89. Taxes, insurance, or escrow, something that I like to see. I find that on the couple of notes that I have that are not escrowed, my borrowers run into problems paying the taxes when it comes due, but your mileage may vary on that, but that is kind of something that I do like to see. And this property is in Mississippi. Right off the bat, this is what we call a mom and pop note. It was written by an individual, not a company. And I don't think $1,500 down is a really good commitment. One of the things we teach at Note School is to make sure you have borrowers have skin in the game. I don't consider $1,500 down to be much skin in the game, and this is kind of borne out with the fact that it's non-performing now. But you want a substantial down payment. You want to qualify them through a RMLO or registered mortgage loan originator. There are a lot of things you can do to keep yourself out of trouble, and I actually have a phrase that I put in my ads that knocks out most of the people who want to come along with just a low down payment. So the right way and a wrong way doesn't mean this loan couldn't work, but I certainly think my borrower would be more motivated to pay on time and stay in the house if she had put more down. And I think you'll agree with that. So there are 302 payments left on that 360. The next one is due back in January 1st of 2023. Now, she did make a catch-up payment to get somewhat caught up in March of 23, but she's still, right now, she's over 8 months behind. I studied the history on this note, and she does tend to pay in chunks. She'll go 90 to 120 days, start feeling some heat, and then she'll pay again. And that's kind of the nature of our business. We're not looking for the perfect borrower, but if I was Wells Fargo, I probably would have already started the foreclosure process on her, and wouldn't have had the tolerance to go with her ups and downs as far as the way she paid for it. I want to see her pay. I want to see her to continue to pay, and so we're not here to kick her out, but at the same time, just like if she was a tenant, I'd be looking to make sure that she continues to pay, or she's going to have to move on somewhere else. Right now, she has an unpaid balance of $52,228. That's through that January 1st. The unpaid legal balance, which is I'm collected to if this ever goes to an auction, is $55,735, and that was the figure in June. So the first thing I do is, after I look at the property, and it's pretty standard for that area, a couple of decent cars in the garage, looks to be in decent repair. I want to find out what the value of the collateral is, because there's a better than even chance that I'm going to take this property back and I'm going to have to dispose of it. So I want to make sure that the value is reasonable. So we commission what's called a broker price opinion, where you have a local agent go out there and take some pictures. It's not an interior inspection. It's sometimes done from the street, but nobody goes inside, so we don't know what the interior looks like. But then they compare it to other comparables in the area, and this is a figure they came up with. It's worth anywhere from $58,000 to $60,000 is probably what they listed for, and it would rent for about $700 a month on the open market. So not bad so far. It's worth more than what she owes on it. There are other sources that I use to kind of bring together figures that I kind of average out, but NAR RPR is a site for real estate agents. A lot of real estate agents I find don't know this, but NARRPR.com. You can register for free because you're part of National Association of Realtors, and it gives you a very comprehensive spit out of most of the properties in the country, a value, comps, crime stats, a whole bunch of stuff that is nice to find in one place, and they'll put a value on it. PropStream, PropWire are good sources for value information, and I like to go to Zillow and Redfin and see what's going on in the area. And the Zillow values have come down a lot in the last 12 to 18 months because of all they've been through. So just kind of put that all in the pot and spit it out and come up with, all right, it's worth about $60,000 and could rent for about $700 a month. So that's kind of what I'm working with if I take it back and it's not destroyed inside. So I bought this note for $32,635. That's a 55% investment to value. It's worth, like I said, about 60, and will rent for about $700 a month. So the first thing we do is we engage the borrower, reviewing the servicing notes. I do know that she does respond when the heat gets turned up a little bit, when it's time to pay. She'll come up with the cash. So we have a local service that will go out and they'll do what's called a door knock and exterior inspection as well. Take some pictures for me so I get the general idea of the property. They leave a letter in the door, and this was accomplished on June 28th. The report came back along with some pictures that it was occupied. She didn't answer. Car was in the driveway. AC was running, and no real issues were noted. The next day, June 29th, I checked my servicing notes, and she had called the servicer, and they spoke to the borrower this morning, and she will be sending 3 payments on or before July 15th, and then we'll send a payment each month with additional funds to bring the account current. That's kind of in line with what her history has been. So far, so good. Well, today's August 11th, and the borrower has not paid or contacted the servicer since. So something's going on there. That's okay. We don't worry about it. Maybe she needs to feel a little more heat, or maybe she's just done and waiting to have to leave. We don't know. But honestly, I would like to see her stay in the property. I'd like to see the loan become performing. That's the goal here. I don't want to take back a house in Mississippi, but if I do, I'm protected. But just like if she was a tenant of mine, I'd expect her to pay on time, and I expect no less when I'm the lender. Now, this instance, it's a little interesting, a little different than what you might be used to. This is called a contract for deed. Some places called a land contract. But in this case, I actually hold the deed. It's in the name of my company. The borrower does not hold the deed. Most places around the country with a mortgage or deed of trust, the deed is either held by the borrower or by a trustee. And there's a bit of a legal process to get that back to the lender, through foreclosure or what have you, if we ever get to that point. This is more like a lease to own, or actually an even better example would be a car loan. You go to the dealership, you sign paperwork, you get the keys to the car, you get to drive it, get all the rights and responsibilities of ownership. Same with the house. You've got to pay your taxes, a trash bill, keep it up, keep it insured, and you get to enjoy it. But you don't get the deed until it's paid off. And that's the way this particular one works. Now, going forward, we have a few options here. So what I did on July 31st is I had my attorney in the local area send a fair credit letter, notice of default, and kind of steps up the process a little bit, because in the language it says hired to foreclose on this property. So we make it very clear that this attorney intends to foreclose, and the cost of that note to send that letter, a little less than $200. That cost is added to the unpaid legal balance, so I am entitled to that if this were ever to go to an auction. So we've sent that, and as of today, we have not heard back from the borrower. Now, hopefully by the time that we come back in September, we will have a good resolution to this, and she'll be getting caught up. Maybe she'll pay it all at once. Maybe we'll work out a payment plan. That's fine, but we'll see. The good thing is I'm only in it for 32 and change. The property's worth about 60. I could even, we'll talk about the possible outcomes here. Hopefully she gets back on track. And like I said, that's what I like about this business is we're not spring-loaded to kick her out and try to get the new person in. Let's see what your situation is. Before I bought this property, I did some background checking, went on Pacer, checked for bankruptcy, legal actions against her, title search, everything was clean, no judgments, and pretty unique name. I found her on Facebook. She's got a kid in middle school there, so there's a high desire to stay in this property, and I'm counting on that to help get her back on track. So that's part of why I felt so confident that she'll probably end up doing the right thing on this one. But if not, if she finally says, hey, I can't make the payments anymore, that'll be unfortunate, because rents in the area are $700, and she's only out about $500 a month on this one. But yet it is what it is. We would offer cash for keys. That protects the collateral. It's just the same as when you are a landlord and you want the tenant to move out without destroying your place. We have somebody on the ground there who will deliver the check at the time that she moves out, making sure that the place is broom swept, all the trash is out, everything's gone, and ready for somebody else to come in and look at it. So if they meet all those conditions, then they get a little money to move out and maybe get a deposit on a new place, security deposit and all that. So we help them along, but at the same time we protect our collateral. Well, if that doesn't work, we'll probably move on to foreclosure. Basically, have to evict her in the sense. You'll see in some of the other videos we talk about loan modification, but right now, with the way that she historically misses payments for months at a time, really not a very good candidate for loan modification. Loan mods are for people who might have been two incomes going to one, and they might have a high interest rate, but they have a propensity to pay. They want to pay. They want to stay there, and they haven't ghosted you either. Ghosting your lender is probably one of the biggest mistakes you can make. So I'd love to work with her and make sure the situation works out. But at the same time, there's another family who could use the house, and if she's not willing to abide by the contract, then we'll have to move on. So anyway, like I said, this is a contract for deed, and Mississippi is a judicial foreclosure state. However, in this arrangement with the contract for deed, I still have the deed, so I don't need to necessarily go through a long legal process to get it back. They changed the laws recently there. I'm not a legal scholar. I can just tell you what I know from having seen some of these discussed in other forums and through my conversations with experts on this, is that we're looking at what her equitable interest is in this. In other words, how much has she put in and how much equity we should lose if we just take the deed back and essentially evict her. And she's only in for $1,500, which, like I said, is ridiculously low. I would have asked for at least 15-20% down. And her unpaid balance was down to about $52,000 change on a $54,000 note. So she's only in for $3,000 over the period of 4.5 years. Actually, we're actually beyond 5 years. 5.5 years, she only paid down $3,000. So I don't think I'll have any trouble taking the property back without much of a legal fight, or with much of a legal fight, because she doesn't really stand to lose very much, and we've given her every opportunity to get caught up. The law exists there so that let's say that she had $30,000-$40,000 into this thing now, and she missed one payment. I couldn't just go take the deed and kick her out. So, but in this case, like you can see, we're really kind of questioning her ability to stay in there, want to stay in there, and she doesn't really stand to lose much on the grand scale if we do have to take the deed back. So hopefully that doesn't come to fruition. If we do have to take the property back, I would look to sell it for cash, either advertise it through several channels, find an investor in the local area, maybe engage a local real estate agent, but we'll get it sold. Remember, I'm only into it for about $32,500, and might be another $5,000 to $1,000 legal fees if it goes that far. Or we can advertise for a new buyer who would like to own on terms, somebody who we call a penalty box buyer, like we discussed before. Maybe somebody's an investor, like a fix, a BRRRR method to get in, buy, renovate it, and put it on the market. But anyway, there's all sorts of things that we can do with this property. Like I said, hopefully it all gets worked out. But you can see, the reason I got in is it's a pretty strong equity position. The borrower has shown a propensity to pay in spurts, and we're counting on the legal heat to crank up again. She has a want to stay in there, and if she has the means, by all means, we're going to make sure that it works out for her. But if not, then she's not going to abide by the contract. Then she's gotten to stay for free for a while, and we'll just have to take care of that. So anyway, hope to have a good update for you when we come back in September and find that she's back on track, and we'll consider this what we call a reperforming note. And just one other thing I'd like to add is that, I'm not doing this blind. Through my affiliation with Note School and then the good folks at in the back office there, the Colonial and what have you, I get all sorts of guidance on this. They were the ones who provided me with the attorney they use in Mississippi, how to go through the process. And in fact, as part of the Note School community, we discuss issues like this every week in webinar. In fact, yesterday we discussed a situation just like this. Happened to be a note in Mississippi, and the gentleman in that case had already gone and taken possession of the property as an REO, and we were discussing different ways you could dispose of it. So anyway, like I said, there's right ways, wrong ways to do it, and you're part of a community here at Note School, and like I said, I can't beat the drum there, for their service, too loudly. It really makes a difference in my business, and gives me all sorts of insight and confidence to make sure that I'm doing the very best that I can in every situation. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that little tidbit in. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up today. Getting close to 1 o'clock here in Central Time. I think it's going to get well above 100 degrees here in Dallas again. So I'm looking forward to maybe hopping in the pool. But anyway, we've covered a lot today. I know I talk fast. I grew up in the Northeast, and I do try to slow down. But if something wasn't clear or you got some questions, go ahead and watch the replay. It's going to be up on our website here within the next hour or so. You can slow it down. Feel free to ask questions. People ask, why do I do this? Well, I'm not selling any courses or anything like that, but the note investing world is fairly small when it comes to individual investors. It's growing a lot now, especially here in Dallas. Looking forward to putting a meetup together with all the folks here in Dallas who work with notes. But anyway, I want more people to work with, and I just want you to have a basic knowledge of how this works. That's why I push the masterclass so much. After a couple hours, we'll be able to talk the same language and find out ways that maybe we can work together. If you got money sitting on the sidelines and want to put it to work, I'd love to be able to help you do that through partnerships. And we've got a wide net of folks that we work with. So this is the time. And that slide with timing is everything couldn't be more perfect right now. So that's why I'm here bumbling through a podcast when actually my passive note investing has already reached all my goals. But I plan to work this quite a bit in the future. That's going to be my retirement gig, is working full-time in the note business, working with the family real estate business, and want you to be able to have that opportunity as well, at least have that education. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. Make sure you sign up for the masterclass. There'll be one more QR code coming in the outro, or catch it in the replay, or you can just email me, Tom at noclubusa.com. I'll go ahead and get you hooked up there. But go ahead and do that. Go to the website and check out our newsletter. That's a free download, lots of good information in there. And then make sure you do patronize our sponsors, Homeward Property Management for your rentals in the DFW area, Deep Blue Capital for your syndication needs, Tour Studios if you'd like to do a podcast, or you have a podcast and want to refine it. Obviously, Jesse could do a lot for me, but I prefer to broadcast from my own location, but he takes care of me. Great guy. I might be able to hook you up too. So anyway, Danny Force for your real estate needs in North Dallas. And finally, if you do want to buy or sell a note, U.S. Note Exchange. So got a lot going on. Glad you could be here today. We look forward to seeing you in September. I'm going to be gone on vacation for a little bit. Going to go to Ireland and watch these guys play Navy towards the end of the month. So I might do a live stream from over there, but if not, we'll catch you at the beginning of September. I've given you lots of homework. Go ahead and get started on it. Increase your knowledge base about notes, and then let's meet up again in September and carry on. Probably have a couple of good guests by then, and be ready to go. So anyway, you all have a great rest of your summer. We'll talk to you in September. Stay safe out there. Watch your paperwork, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.